Welcome to Invisible Strings, where we tug at the little threads that hold our lives together. From mental health and relationships to marriage, motherhood, and all the beautiful chaos in between. I'm Katie, your guide to navigating life's tangled web, one string at a time. Think of this as your weekly dose of insight, sprinkled with a bit of laughter, some heartfelt chats, and maybe even a happy tear or two. So, whether you're juggling a million things or you just need a break, let's untangle life together, because those invisible strings, they're what keep us connected. This is Invisible Strings. Let's get started. Lucky number 13. Here we are. 13th episode. Really excited to be here. I'm so grateful that you are here listening, whether you're doing your laundry or going for a walk or driving to school. I don't know. Whatever you're doing, I'm so happy that you're here to listen. Today is, I feel like I always say, it's a different kind of podcast. Every time I think it's a different kind of podcast. But this episode today is actually really personal and it's raw, and it's about the unknown and the way that God shows up even when everything feels really uncertain. And that's something that we as a family are going through right now. And I talked about it a little bit this week on my Instagram page because it's kind of scary, and I think everything's going to be completely fine. And we're going to be totally fine. And Jack's going to be fine. It was, when you're like driving down the highway and all of a sudden you have to stop quickly. Like it's like screeching stop. Like that is how Friday felt to me. So I wanted to talk about how this routine dental scan turned into something we really did not expect. And we're hoping for the best. So I guess the theme of today is in the middle of potential bad news, I felt peace. Not because I'm superhuman, so far from it, but because I know who's holding us. So if you didn't hear on Instagram, a lot of you don't have Instagram. A lot of you don't even follow me. If you don't, you should follow me. If you didn't hear, the story goes like this. Jack is 8 years old. He's our youngest of 4, and he was getting fitted for an expander. His palate is really small, so we're expanding it so his teeth can come in. He's also having a lot of issues with his tonsils. They're very big, and so we were hoping that potentially using this expander would expand his palate and then allow him to sleep with his mouth closed instead of open, and hopefully allow the tonsils to shrink. I've been told now that that's not even a thing. So it's okay, whatever. We're still getting the expander. His mouth is crowded. Regardless, when we went to our dentist to get this done, you get a CBCT is what I think it's called. And it's like a CAT scan of your mouth and your skull. Last week, they had gotten, maybe 2 weeks ago, they got the test results back from that CT, and Dr. Bird, who is our dentist, had gone to had seen it and had seen something strange on it. So had gone to a couple different specialists and asked if they had seen anything like this before and what it possibly could be. And they all agreed that this was something that wasn't normal and he needed to be seen quickly. So she had been trying to call, and her office had been trying to call last week, and I just thought they were calling to schedule the expander, and I didn't ignore their calls. Every time they called, I was doing something and then I forgot to call back. So Thursday night, I had looked at my phone, and earlier in the evening, Dr. Bird had called me on her cell phone, left a message, and it was too late to call her back at that point. So I called her on Friday, and I got the woman who's in charge of all the intake, and she's like, "Have you gotten our messages?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got your messages. I'm scheduling it now." She's like, No, this is something different. We need to actually put that on hold. There was a finding on the CT scan, and I was like, okay. And she's like, here's a number of a specialist. Dr. Bird had sent the CT scan to a bunch of different doctors and specialists in Charlotte, and they all agree that he needs to be seen immediately. And I'm like, well, what is it? And she said, I think it looks like it's a lesion, but we're not sure. So I'm giving you this number. I need you to call this doctor and try to get in as soon as you can. And her voice she's very friendly and I love her, but her voice was serious. And there wasn't any like, I'm sure it's nothing. It's like, you need to see this doctor, which put me into a little bit of a panic. And I started crying, and she's like, we don't even know what this is. We just need you to get in to see the doctor. I said, okay. So I hung up the phone, went to call the doctor. Of course, no one answers. I leave a message, and then I call Dr. Bird's cell phone, and I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, I had a feeling you'd call. take a couple deep breaths. I have not seen this before. That's why I sent it out to some other doctors and specialists. And I feel much better if we could get this taken care of and looked at immediately. I'm like, well, what do you think it is? And she's like, well, I don't know. And it looks like a mass or a lesion, and it's on the base of the skull. And I was like, I thought it was behind the sinuses. And she's like, it is, but it's at the base of the skull. Okay. So I called the doctor's office back again, and I said, I need to get in to see this doctor. This is what's going on. And they're like, well, the specialist isn't in. He's in surgery all day. I can get you into this other ear, nose, and throat pediatric surgeon. Okay, great. They work together. Perfect. Awesome. Can you be here in an hour? Yes. So go and get Jack out of school. Of course, you have to be calm and no big deal, even though we were pretty worried inside and weren't really sure what we were dealing with. And just Jack's like, why are you taking me out of school? Yeah, I'm getting out of school. And I'm just like, you know what? Remember the CT we had to do for your mouth? They found something on there. We have to go get another picture. It wasn't really clear. And he's like, okay, cool. And so we went in there, and we weren't really expecting to hear what the doctor said next. So we sit down, and the doctor comes in, younger guy, probably in his 40s, really, really nice, had already looked up his credentials, had checked him out. It came in, didn't even sit down, introduced himself, and he's like, listen, we're not sure what this is, but I've talked to Dr. Capello, who is the surgeon he was an ENT skull surgeon, pediatric skull surgeon, something like that. And he stepped out of surgery, and he looked at the scans, and he agrees we need to get a CT that will allow us to see what this is more clearly, and also will allow us to go into biopsy whatever this is eventually. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Do you have any idea what it is? No. It looks like a lesion. It is definitely something there. And I was like, okay, have you seen this before? And he said, not in someone this age. And that kind of took my breath away. And I was like, okay, what's next? Let's go over for the CT. So we go over to the CT, and he does it, and Jack does a great job. And then we are done. We leave. He said, we'll probably get this back sometime next week, and then we need you to come back in here to see Dr. Capello, who is the actual specialist that will be working with this specialty. And I was like, okay. Before I left, though, the nurse pulled me aside as the boys walked out, and she's like, listen to me. Look at me. She could see me kind of going everywhere, as every parent would. And she's like, everything's going to be okay. I'm like, okay. And she's like, no, listen, everything's going to be okay. Even if it's not okay, it's going to be okay. And I was like, okay. She's like, I need you to hear me when I say this. And I kind of just snapped out of it at that point. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. And she told me a story, and she hugged me for 2 minutes, and she was like an angel. I'm not joking. It was amazing. And, for me, I don't know, did God send her? I think he did, because if you knew me even just 2 years ago, I would have been a different person in this situation. And it would have been scary for me and for Jack and for everybody else involved. I think my behavior would have been really, really scared. And that's okay to be scared. But I would have gone from 0 to 100 in, 0.2 seconds. She kind of obviously she didn't slap me, but she kind of grabbed my arms and was like, listen, it's going to be okay. I was like, okay. Gave me a hug, and I left. We end up getting in the car and driving home, and Brad is crying. Jack can't see him crying. He's in the front. Jack's playing a game on his phone, on Brad's phone, and he doesn't know. But I can see him crying. And I was not. I was, for the first time in a situation like this, I didn't have panic. I actually had stillness. And I felt this wave of, peace. I felt this wave of peace. It didn't make my worries about what's next go away, but I just didn't feel angst, and I didn't feel like I was going to go crazy. I wasn't crying. I had cried in the morning when the doctor originally called me. I had cried because I was scared, and I didn't know what was going on. For the first time in my life, I was the calm in the storm. And it was amazing to feel this calmness and to know that you know what? No matter what happens, we are going to be okay. Even if the results aren't okay, we're going to be okay. You know, a friend of mine had a situation a couple weeks ago where she had lost her son for like a half a second, and it ended up that he had taken off his floaties and had gotten to the water, and he was right behind her, but he was under the water and he was good. He was okay. Thank God. And she had said to me afterwards, I'm obviously so happy that he's okay, but Katie, even if it wasn't the outcome that we would have hoped for, even if it didn't end up the way it did, God would still be who he is, and he would still be very so good. We would just be really sad. And I start to think about, I'm not sure, like, it's like when people tell me stories now, when people talk to me, it's like I can hear what they're saying. That sounds weird because obviously we have ears at work, but it's like I can hear it and understand it, and it stays with me, and I think about it. And that thing that she had said to me really stuck with me, and I was like, you're right. Like, that would be so sad if something had happened, but God would still be who he says he is, and he'd still be amazing, and we would just be sad. And that was a thought that had come to my mind in the car when we were driving home. And I still felt uneasy because I didn't really understand what was going on. And I didn't really understand what this was or what it could be. And for me, you can't scare me. I want to know the information. Like, if I have the information and I understand the information, then I can digest it and I can create a plan. And that makes me, I guess, feel like I'm more in control, or that's probably what it is. So I didn't know what it was. I took the CT scans from the dentist, and I put into ChatGPT with a bunch of information about who Jack is, how old he is. This was found by accident. He has no symptoms, all this stuff. And man, my girl ChatGPT, she spit out some knowledge for me. And some of the stuff was not good. But it was like, it wasn't good. It was like, this could be cancer and it could be malignant because it looks like there's been some deterioration of the bone, and but it looks like it's growing forward. And so if that's the case, and that's really good, because some people have whatever the name of this cancer is for years before they even know, until it like grows so big that it like affects their eyesight or their smell, their sense of smell. And so I kind of was able to wrap my head around the worst case scenario. And I was like, cool, we got this. Whatever this is, we're going to do it. We're going to be fine. I know it's going to be 4 days before we hear anything, because of course, when would this happen? On Memorial Day weekend, Friday at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I prepared for that too. And my poor sweet husband is basically sobbing and without any noise. And I was calm. And that calmness though, you guys, like, for anyone who doesn't know me, that wasn't me. I do truly believe that I was given the Holy Spirit to just bring peace to me that transcends all understanding. And I've never been more grateful. And I've never felt it before. And you see people go through really hard things, like really hard things. And you're like, God, how do they do that? Like, how do they get through that? Like, how? And they're like succeeding even through all of this hard stuff. And that's how. That's how. I knew God was there, did not know what the outcome was going to be, but I needed that in this in-between time. And waiting is I'm not good at it. I'm not patient, but I was patient, and I didn't have a choice, right? Like, I had to go through it. I couldn't jump over it or hide. I had to just walk right through it. That's what I was going to do. Around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we had already gotten the girls. They were aware of what was going on now. Jack wasn't really aware of anything. William wasn't aware. He was like, something's going on, but no one's telling me anything. And I don't ever want my kids to feel like we're hiding anything from them. I just don't need them to think it could be something that it's not. Like, they don't know anything about any of that stuff. And so if I tell them that we're just waiting on the scan and then it ends up being nothing, like, I don't need to tell them that it could possibly be something serious. And so by 4:00, I had gotten all my knowledge from ChatGPT. She came through, and everything that I had read was like, okay, the next step is going to be an MRI with contrast. And I'm like, why didn't we just do that already? Like, do you think I'm going to wait until Wednesday or Thursday for them to be like, okay, now we need to get an MRI with contrast just to see what it is? No, I wanted to do it right away because that's where I'm like, let's get the things done. Like, I'm a doer. I'm not like, let's sit around and think about it. I'm like, let's do it. Anybody that knows me knows that. It's probably really annoying sometimes. And I sent a message on my chart to the doctor and I said, hey, Dr. Azer, would we be able to get an MRI today? And he's like, I'll send it. Where do you want it to go? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, the emergency room, where can I even go? And he's like, wait, hold on. And the radiologist had already read the report and had sent it to him, and he sent it to me 4:00 on a Friday of Memorial Day weekend. These doctors read the scan and they got it back to me. Like, praise God. I couldn't even believe it because that never happens. That never happens. And I got a message from his nurse, his amazing nurse, Christina, and she was like, Katie, here is all the information. And the doctor had then written and said, you do not need to get an MRI. This looks really good. There is no findings of malignancy, and there is something there, but it's not malignant. They don't think. And that was all I needed to know. And I'm like, cool, whatever it is, we'll get through it. I am so grateful that I was able to go through this last weekend without any worries. So we found ourselves this last weekend just feeling so grateful and thankful for the doctors. And that was one of the things I was praying about is like, please, God, just put people in our path that's going to like help us. Just please, like whatever we need, just make those the people that are in front of us. That's what we need. That's exactly what happened. We ended up doing nothing. It's Memorial Day weekend. Sometimes we're out east, sometimes we're at the beach. And this weekend we did nothing. All of us laid on the couch, watched movies, like went to the farmer's market. We did go to a Charlotte FC game on, I think, Saturday night. It was so much fun just with the boys. And we celebrated my brother's birthday, but like really we just sat on the couch and did nothing, decompressed. Nothing else mattered. We didn't care about the laundry. We didn't care about cleaning. Like it didn't matter. We didn't care about going to parties, like nothing. We just really let ourselves decompress. I don't think that we truly understand how much our body goes through in situations that are scary. And Friday was exhausting. And I really felt that. I felt that all throughout the weekend, and really was for the first time really ever was able to give myself grace. In the Bible, God emphasizes the importance of rest for both our physical body and our spiritual body. And he models that through his own actions, of creation, really like resting on the seventh day after completing his work and offering a Sabbath, which is rest for his people, which is what we're supposed to be doing on Sundays. Even though like that's the day, what do? We run to the store, we get everything ready for the week ahead. We're really supposed to be resting on that day. It's hard for us as humans to rest. He invites us to come to him and find rest. And he offers a spiritual and emotional rest that can be found really only in his presence. And I really tried to meditate on that this weekend because it was sometimes when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to really understand what's going on and what your body and your mind is going through during traumatic experiences. And I would say that it was a pretty traumatic experience for me. So where are we now? Today's Thursday, and yesterday we had an appointment with Dr. Capello at 8:30 in the morning. And in my mind, I was like, cool, like we're going to go. I almost canceled it, but I was like, don't cancel it. I was like, we're going to go and we're going to be good. Like he's going to be like, thank goodness that was nothing. And we got there and he said, so this looks good. It doesn't look like anything serious. Doesn't look like it. And he said, we still need to go in there and take it out though, because we need to know what it is. And that I wasn't expecting that. That was not, I don't know if I like tricked myself into like being like, cool, we're good. Everything's fine. I wasn't expecting to go in there and be like, okay, well, we actually do need to go in still and find out what this is. My heart skipped a beat a little bit. And so what happens is, let me tell you what actually was going on in Jack's head. So there is a sinus cavity and in the back of your head that doesn't develop until you're 6 or 7 years old. And before that, it's just bone and it's behind your sinuses, and the bone is called your clivus. And as you turn 6 or 7, that bone starts to go away and it creates a cavity. So like an air sac, I would say. And on the tip of the bone of the clivus, there was what looked like kind of like a bony structure. And it can look like a tumor if it doesn't develop all the way. And so that's why they were saying that there was a lesion or a tumor on the clivus, because sometimes it doesn't actually expand all the way. And when it doesn't expand all the way, sometimes it can develop more bone, or it can develop, I guess, a lesion, or not a lesion, but like a tissue or fluid maybe. And so he really wants to go in there and get rid of it. It's not very big. He can do it. And so it's not very big. So I said, okay, can you kind of explain that? Like, what does that look like? And so what they do is they take a scope and they go up through his nose and through his sinuses, and then they can go in and with the camera and see what it is. And they can either drain it or take it out. And if it's tissue, then of course they'll have it sent into pathology. And I still sat there kind of like, okay, like we're good. And Jack's like, I get to have surgery? They're like, yeah. And he's like, does it hurt? He's like, no, you'll be asleep. Okay. Well, that sounds good. And we were okay. Like it was okay. And we're like, he went through the procedure itself and what they do. And it takes about 45 minutes, and we'll be at CMC and which is the main hospital in Charlotte. He said that if it was his child, he would do the same thing. Because I was like, is this necessary? Are you worried about it being malignant? He's like, no, I'm not at all. I'm not, because there hasn't been deterioration of the bone, and it doesn't look like it's moving in any sort of way, and all the things that he said. And he's like, I'm really not concerned about that, but we see it, we know it's there, let's make sure that we're good. Where 2 years ago I would have been like, okay, here we are again, it's cancer, this is awful, I can't believe this is happening, why is this happening to us, on and on and on. And I was like, okay, next step, surgery. So it's happening on Wednesday next week. If you pray, I would love your prayers for him, just to have a really easy surgery, for Dr. Capello and all of his nurses and techs to just have an amazing day that day, and that their hands, God can work through them and guide their hands and just make this a really easy procedure. And I think that being able to submit and just hand it over to God is something that comes with spiritual maturity. I feel confident in that, and I feel confident in what God's doing and what God's doing with Jack and how he's using him in whatever way he's using him right now. So that is where we are now. And then in the summer coming up, once we get back from Rhode Island, we'll be getting his tonsils taken out, because they're as big as golf balls literally all the time. So the whole entire reason we were going in for the expander and all that stuff is because he has sleep apnea. We think his mouth is open when he sleeps, dries out his teeth. He has a lot of cavities because of that. And I don't think that he's had a regular full night's sleep ever because of these tonsils. And I'm really excited to get them out. I'm really excited to get this thing over with on Wednesday. I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for all the things that have happened in the last few years to get me to where I am right now, because this last weekend could have been so much worse if I didn't have the faith or the confidence I have in God and all the people that surround me. So this is going to sound crazy, because when you say it out loud, it's like, duh. Obviously, I used to think that if I panicked enough, if I was worried enough, if I was anxious enough, if I cried enough, then everything would be okay. If I went from 0 to 100 in 4 seconds, and 100 was I'm dead in the ground, my kids have no parents, then that wouldn't happen. And that is not how it works, but that's how a lot of our brains work, which is crazy to me now when I think about it. But God's presence, like, it's not measured by panic levels. You can be, and also you can be a mess and still be wrapped in peace. Like, even if you're a mess, God's still there. He's there whether we're crying, raging, freezing, smiling, like whatever. He's always there. It is a feeling that surpasses all things when you can be calm in an otherwise really scary, stressful, anxiety-provoking situation, especially if that's kind of like how you've been your entire life. And also keep in mind that your first reaction to any circumstance does not disqualify your faith. Like, fear can coexist with faith. Like, it does all the time. Anybody out there that has faith can also have fear. And the goal is to not fake the strength. The goal is to invite God into your weakness and to bring him in and let him lead you. Sometimes we have to wait weeks before we get answers. Like, this surgery will happen on Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll wait a whole entire week before we get the pathology back. It's going to take a lot of prayers and strength to not go to scary places. I would say cling to the promises and not the outcomes. So we don't always get the answers we don't always get the answers we want, but we do get God. And whatever the outcome is, we are protected and we are taken care of. And God's using whatever is happening for a reason, for his glory. And when you start to realize that, it changes things. It changes everything. When you anchor yourself in his character and not what you hope will happen, I don't know, it just changes the whole game. You should always speak life over the situation. You don't need to deny reality, but you can declare peace. And when you share verses and affirmations and prayers, that's what's going to sustain you. And another thing that I feel like sustains is helping other people. So whether that's someone in a similar situation or whether it's just holding the door for somebody. I mean, heck, like the other day I saw this woman, she was an Indian woman and she was older and she was taking a step down off of a sidewalk. And I noticed that she was very slow. So I walked over, I'm like, can I help you come down off that curb? And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she took my hand and she came down and she just gave me a big hug. And she's like, no one's ever nice like that anymore. And I'm like, yeah, they are. People are nice. People are kind. So helping other people is another way of feeling really good and kind of making it not about you and making it about serving other people. Finally, building that faith muscle in small moments. So like any small moment, what you practice in everyday life, it shows up when the storms hit. And I think that has been going on for me for like the last 2 years. Every single day I wake up, I'm excited about waking up. I'm excited about what's going to happen. I'm excited to have a cup of coffee. I'm excited about the small things. I'm excited to do my podcast. I'm excited to see my kids. I'm excited to sit on the couch and watch a movie, read a book, go to sleep. Like, I'm excited about the little things and really try to practice every day speaking about God and hoping that I am serving him the way that he wants me to serve. And trust is a habit. It's not a feeling. So by continuing to show up every day in your own life and doing the things that you've been called to do and being submissive, and I know the word submission has like a very negative meaning. It shouldn't have a negative meaning. It's so hard for us to do it. And once you do it, it feels so good. It feels so incredible to just try to give up that control that we try to have all the time. And once you do it, life just feels like it gets easier. It should be. We're not trying to be in control of everything anymore. So build that faith muscle in all the small moments. So when life throws you a curveball, you can reach into your bag of tricks and pull out that Holy Spirit and wrap yourself in the armor of God. Let's take these last couple minutes. And so not everybody is going through crazy things. Most of us are not. Most of us are not going through this kind of stuff. But that whether you're going through something like this, an unknown diagnosis or a breakup or a loss of a job or whatever the situation might be, I don't know, maybe you're in a fight with your family. Whatever it is, it's big for you. And it doesn't need to be a diagnosis or a life-threatening illness or anything like that for it to be hard. And so where right now in your life do you feel like things are spiraling? And where do you need calm to meet your chaos? So I have to write in a journal, and I did that all the time when I was younger, and I'm doing that again now. And I write in a journal all the time, whether I bring it to church, I write my notes in there, I bring it to Shine and write things in there. Like I have it with me all the time. So I would encourage you to journal these questions. What's one fear I'm carrying that I haven't surrendered to God? And what does peace feel like to me? That's something you probably have to think about for a little bit. And it's not like having a glass of wine on a beach. Like, I guess it could be that if you want it to be that, but like real peace. Sometimes I feel like when we're drinking, I know that when we're drinking, we're numbing our brains. And so that's not actual peace. So I would say, think about what real peace feels like and write that down. Where has God already shown up in ways that you didn't expect? Little things, just today, like where did he show up? And I just wanted to take a minute because I feel like a lot of people have been praying for me and been praying for us the last couple of days. And I just wanted to pray over you guys. And if you're uncomfortable with this, I'm sorry. But it's still happening. So you can turn it off now if you want to, but I'm still going to pray over you. And it's still going to like be tagged to you, whether you believe it or not. But I just did want to pray that anyone listening and everyone listening, that you are also able to feel peace from God and from the Holy Spirit. And I pray that God will open your eyes and will help you to see how important your life is and what you're doing and how you are serving a God that is so great and one that loves you so much. And I pray that you're able to find comfort in that. And in the midst of craziness and chaos in our everyday lives, you're able to stop and reflect on his love and the beauty all around you and the miracles all around us every single day. And I pray all this in your name, Lord. Amen. I hope that this encourages you to take a few minutes to just take a deep breath and give yourself some grace and know that you are loved by more people than you probably even realize, and by God. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Please pray for us for next week and just a good turnout, a great procedure. And I already feel so many prayers, and I'm so grateful for all of you listening. And send me a message. I know there's people out there listening in different countries now, and I think that's amazing. So if you are not in the United States, I would love to hear from you. I am always so surprised when I see that there's people in the Netherlands, and there's people in Japan, and there's people in London and Sweden, and what did I have on the other day? Switzerland. Like, amazing. Thank you. Let me know what's helpful, and I would love to speak with you. So I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Invisible Strings, where we've tugged at a few threads and hopefully left you with a smile and something to think about. Remember, life's connections might be invisible, but they're oh so strong. If you enjoyed today's chat, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little string pulling in their life. Until next time, keep those invisible strings intact, and I'll see you back here soon for more heartfelt conversations and a dash of fun. Stay connected, stay kind, and keep untangling.